Hey, what's up, guys? It's Art Book Addiction here, and we're here with a new artist journey video. So today we're going to be talking about consistency. Okay, so you have your setup, you're working hard. Okay, you're outputting work at a good pace, right? Whatever pace that is, whatever however much time you usually set, right? Um, and you're doing this regularly. Maybe not every day, but like whatever your schedule is, you're able to do it again and again and again, right? Um, and that's good. That's dedicated practice, right? And what is exactly the goal of this besides to just produce, work that you're proud of and is good and the people like, right? The goal beyond that is consistency. Okay, consistency of quality, consistency of practice, consistency of improvement. Okay, consistency is something that takes great effort to obtain. Okay, and a lot of time and a lot of effort to obtain. Okay, so if you are able to do consistency really well, then your path to mastery is nothing but sure at this point. Okay, so that's what we'll be talking about today. Before we start the video, please hit that like, hit that subscribe, check out my Princeton Patreon, and join the Discord, right? And with that, let's get into it. So consistency is not something, again, easily achieved. Okay, it takes a great bit of discipline to be able to approach the canvas again and again and again at a set time, at a set date, forever, however many days of the week, right? For however long, for me personally, what I do is, okay, so I draw I paint 5 days a week. Okay, so it's like a regular job. Okay, I paint from usually 1:30 to 4 o'clock. Okay, maybe sometimes to 4:20. Okay, it just that's just for some reason I stop at 4:20, right? It never goes to like 4:30, but that's just whatever. That's maybe it's just a happy coincidence, right? That the funny number gets to be the time that my brain's like, okay, let's stop, right? Maybe something to do with the light, right? Um, and so I work that time, and I do it, and I make sure to see, even if I like miss the start time, right? I start late. I always come in and I always put in the work at however much work I can in that time. Okay. And having the confidence to know that you're gonna come back every time, right? I think puts your mind at ease on like whether you could do something or not, right? That you're willing to chip away at whatever you're doing again, consistently, again and again and again, right? So having that ability to be disciplined, okay, and to do it again and again and again, right? At this point, hopefully you're starting to output good work, okay, or at least work that you are proud of. Okay, maybe the work may not be as good in your definition as you'd hope it to be, right? But maybe it's good enough for your skill level. Okay, and that's very important, right? Because if it's good enough for your skill level, then you will start to improve. Okay, as artists draw more, okay, it is only natural to get better. All right, through one piece of work you may not see a lot of improvement. Okay, through two pieces of work you may not see a lot of improvement. Okay, but keep going, and again and again and again, right? And then by like a couple months, maybe 3 months from there, right, you see one piece and you see another piece, and you're gonna see a gap. Okay, whether that gap is big or small, that really depends on you as an artist. Okay, what I would say is that when you're starting out, okay, the gap, like I said, depending on you, right? But I would say a younger artist, the gaps of the leaps are going to be much bigger. Okay, because you're getting better, right? You're learning things. You're learning about the principles. You're learning about the foundations and how to draw correctly and how to look at things, right? And then as you get better and better, right, and as you get to a certain point, the jumps become much smaller, okay, much smaller. And the thing is, like, those small jumps, right, at this point, if you're at this point where you have smaller jumps, this just means that your work is good and you're just trying to improve small things, subtle things, okay, right? And that's the thing, like, when you reach a certain point, these jumps become so small that it may seem that you're not really improving, right? But that's not necessarily true. It's just something that's happening in the background, right? um and then again, there are artists who stagnate, you know what I mean? But normally, okay, right, and that's a whole nother, like, subject, okay? Normally, you're gonna improve, you're gonna get better, the work's gonna get better, okay? I encourage experimentation, okay? I encourage you to implement things that you wouldn't normally, right? Or observe your as you're working, observe what you're doing, right? And then, like, something will usually happen where, like, whoa, I never did that before, and now I learned a new skill, okay, right? And you keep trudging along, you keep doing this, you keep making those little incremental improvements, right? And you'll find yourself in this kind of, like, momentum, okay, right? The momentum of your work is gonna, like, it's gonna speed along, right? And you don't really it doesn't really matter how fast you're going, okay, how fast you're improving. The point is that you are improving, okay? The speed in which you improve, that's just based on your talent, okay, right? I've said it many times, talent is just the speed in which someone learns something, okay? Hard work and consistency at the end of the day will always get you there, right? It's like the turtle and the rabbit, you know what I mean? The turtle and the hare or whatever, right? Some people, they have a lot of talent, they're gonna go real fast, okay? But then they get complacent, and then they at the end of the day, they lose because they don't go far enough, right? You want to be like the turtle dude, okay? You want to be, you know, trudging along again, next step, next step, next step, okay? Hopefully, you are talented, okay? So if you're like a turtle hare combo, right? That's how you can become, like, really, really good, okay, and at a consistent rate. And if you're like that already, I don't even need to tell you about consistency or anything, right? But the idea of consistency, okay, the idea of keeping the thing up, I think that's what's really important about this discussion, okay? Because some people, people who I know, right, who I consider really good artists, they're not consistent, okay? And that's not and, like, a lot of times it's not their fault or your fault, right? But the thing is that whatever, schedule you have, whatever life may throw at you, right, I think the best way is to find, I think everyone could find 1 hour, okay? Even when my life became hectic and, like, I was, like, unable to physically draw that well because of, like, physical disabilities, right, in my hands, I was still able to find 1 hour to do it, okay? Like, I told myself, I'm like, hey, I could at least do an hour a day, right? And then eventually that built until it's about, like, 2 to 3 hours, right? And for me, that's a good session, okay? 2 to 3 hours. I usually say three. I lean towards three to be a good session, right? I used to draw, like, 6 hours, you know what I mean? I was able to do multiple 3-hour sessions in a day, right? But I'm not capable of doing that anymore, right? But at the end of the day, like, that's not gonna stop me, right? If I can only do one, then I'll do one, okay? If I can only do half an hour, you do the half an hour, and then you do it consistently, okay? And again, like I said, when you're doing this, something happens, something changes, okay? When you're at the work and you come in again, you show up every time, you come in again, something happens, something starts to change within you, okay? Slowly but surely, you're chipping away at yourself to become the artist who you were meant to be, okay? And that's the beauty of consistency, okay? Because when you're not consistent, when you're someone who draws sporadically and has like kind of a chaotic workflow, right? Um, Sometimes you'll see large improvements. Sometimes you'll see no improvement. Sometimes you'll see very little improvement, right? And like whatever at whatever stage that is, it can be very disheartening, right? Because like at one point you're like, man, I was growing so fast and I was getting so good really quick, you know. And now look at me, and like now I can't even like I can barely improve. My work always looks, you know, this same quality, right? And you know like th- this creates a lot of insecurities, a lot of weakness, a lot of like questioning of one's ability, right? And that's what consistency really just kind of like it just tears through all of that, okay? Because at the end of the day, like once you're doing it in a consistent way, you're doing it that way, right? You look at it more of as a, like, okay, I'm here, I'm gonna do the thing, and then I stop. I'm here, I do the thing, then I stop, okay? Right? And then it has your brain kind of has like a comfort in that regularity, right? And it's not really necessarily about like how much am I improving in this amount of time, or how quickly can I make this piece, you know, and like it does, none of that matters anymore, right? It just matters that you're there, you're doing the work, you put in your time, and then you get out, okay? And then you're doing this consistently, and then because you do it so consistently, you can kind of see a little bit as the trajectory of your work, okay? So if you have a piece, right, it took you like 20 hours to make, right? And the next piece takes 60 hours to make, okay? When you see those two works, right, like together, and like, you know, you compare them, and you see another piece that's like, you know, 15 hours, like that inconsistency between these pieces, right, it's going to show itself, right? And maybe the 60-hour piece doesn't look that good because you put in too much time, you overworked it, and like maybe it wasn't working like from the beginning, and that you just overcommitted, you know what I mean? There are cases like that. There are also cases where you didn't put enough time in certain pieces, and like, you know, again, these three pieces are inconsistent from each other, right? They don't have the same level of quality between them, right? So by working regularly, okay, by doing, you know, your certain amount of hours, and the consistency within your process, okay, understanding and knowing your process, okay, it can get you through those things and have those consistency of quality throughout your pieces, so that each piece ideally is getting better than the next piece, okay? Or it doesn't have to be that way, right? Because some pieces have, like, you know, some pieces are grander, some pieces are smaller, right? All I really think that's important is that the piece is working for itself, okay? That the piece is of a quality where it shines, okay, where it sings, okay, right? And that's all you really want, you know, like you don't need to have a piece be the grandest thing, and like oh my god, I need to have this 100-figure epic, you know, thing, you know what I mean, right? If you have that, just make sure that it works, right? If you have a single figure, you know, like right here, you know, a single figure on a horse, right? Make sure it just works, okay? If it works, it's cool, okay, right? And it has a good quality to it, okay? That consistent quality, right? If you don't meet that quality standard that you have, right, put in more time, okay? Put in more time. Maybe there's some parts that aren't working, redraw, okay, right? And I know that's scary sometimes, like it's scary to erase, right? Just erase, dude. Get rid of it, draw over it, draw something new, right? Or you might have to redraw depending on like the complexity of your work or what kind of work. Like you're using ink, right? You might have to redraw, right? But you know, inking is fast, so it's not that big of a deal, right? With a painting, you know, redrawing, it's very painful, right? Because you're gonna have to like oh, this whole thing that I rendered out, I'm just gonna have to go from step one again, right? But it's not as painful as you think, okay? But that's a whole nother subject, right? The whole reason you guys do this is so that you get better, right? So that your work looks better, you get improvement, right? And consistency with practice is going to get you there, okay? Whatever place you want to be, you want to get there consistently, okay? Because you're climbing a mountain, okay? You're climbing a mountain, and sometimes that mountain is a different terrain, okay? It's a different terrain. The whatever day it is, it could be, you know, like your mind could be in a different place, your spirit could be in a different place, right? Maybe you're angry that day, or maybe you're sad that day, okay? Or maybe you're happy that day. You know, maybe the juices are flowing good, right? And the speed in which you climb, or the enjoyment of the climb, right, can change every day, right? But the fact that you climb that day for a certain amount of time, that doesn't change, okay? And once you know that you're willing to, you know, because there's a lot of people who are like, oh, I just don't feel like it. Oh, I'm sad today. Oh, I can't draw. Like, oh, I don't feel inspired. I can't do this day, right? None of that matters, man. None of that. It doesn't matter, okay? Because you gotta go out there and you're gonna draw. You're gonna go out there and you're gonna do the thing, okay? Right? And every day skipped, okay, slows your momentum, okay? So you never want to skip a day. You want to just keep going, consistency, right? And yeah, and I get it, dude. There are circumstances in which you can't, okay? And there's circumstances in which you got to walk away for a little bit, right? And that's okay, right? Because if you know that you're disciplined enough to come back, do it again, get back on that train, consistency, right? Get that work going, right? Then it's all good, dude. Then you don't even have to worry about like, oh, am I gonna quit, or oh, like, is this, like, you know, is this gonna be a thing that I could do like all the time, right? It's not gonna matter, because if you know you're disciplined, and if you know that you could achieve that beautiful consistency, then it's not a problem, okay? And you could take ease in that. Your train, okay, your art train, however fast it's moving, is gonna make it to its destination, okay? Yeah, so I think we could end the video here, guys. Please, if you enjoyed that video, hit that like, hit that subscribe, check out my Princeton Patreon if you want to support the channel, consider becoming a channel member, and join the Discord, okay? And with that, all that bullshit, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks a lot.